have Dr. Sangeeta Agasty with us. Dr. Sangeeta is currently Regional Director South Asia with INBAR, International Bamboo and Rattan Organization. She's an economist and a management professional by training, and she has more than 1.5 decades of experience in the sustainability domain. Welcome, Dr. Sangeeta.
Thank you, Mr. Akhilesh.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta. So we'll move on to this first question. As we all know that COP26, that is Conference of Parties 26th meeting, is going to happen in October, by the end of October. It has laid out a set of 4 goals. So these 4 goals, which are very crucial in the wake of recent report which was released in August by IPCC, and it was described by scientists as code red for humanity. So in the backdrop of this and these 4 COP26 goals, which are securing global net zero by mid-century, that is 2050, and keeping 1.5 degrees global average temperature of Earth. The second goal, which is to adapting to protect communities and natural habitats. The third is mobilizing finance for all these activities. And the fourth one is working together to deliver it. Since you have been doing tremendous work in bamboo and rattan, how do you think this sector can contribute towards achievement of these goals?
This is quite a relevant question, particularly in today's context, when we are so much concerned about the the environmental sustainability, at the same time the economic and also the social sustainability. Now, before responding to your question, so I would like to give a little background of where I come from and the organization where I'm working currently. So me, I have, as you have quite humbly actually introduced me to the gathering, that I have around 16 years of experience, but my experience is primarily on the sustainability domain. I worked in the micro, small and medium enterprises development and also the value chain development, primarily focusing on the sustainability aspect, the environment, social and economic sustainability. The organization that I'm representing now is called INBAR, which is International Bamboo and Rattan Organization. So this organization is established in 1997, and this is kind of an intergovernmental organization. So there are around 48 member countries. We promote environmentally sustainable development using bamboo and rattan primarily in various sectors, including housing and construction, lifestyle, utilities, crafts, energy. We also propagate solutions to protect and restore the terrestrial ecosystems. So we have our headquarters in China, but apart from that, we have 5 regional offices. So coming to your question, the scope 26, actually it has a direct relevance with what we are working in INBAR, particularly focusing on the sustainability aspect using the bamboo and rattan. So the 4 areas that you highlighted, first is to secure the global net zero by mid-century and keep 1.5 degrees within the reach. And second one, the adapt to protect communities and natural habitats. So these are the 2 most relevant topics which I would like to touch upon first, and then we'll move to the remaining 2 areas. So bamboo is a very fast or a highly renewable kind of a resource. There are a lot of possibilities in bamboo. Say, for example, from a very high, wall panel or a, wind turbine, those kind of high-end applications to very basic kind of elements like, say, the matchstick, for example, or a basketry item. So there are a large number of possibilities in the bamboo and also in rattan. But now, if you look at the market, like for example, we have so many unsustainable resource-based products, whether it's in housing and construction industries or in lifestyle segment. Within lifestyles, say for example, furniture is there. There is a huge, segment of like packaging, or there are toys, there are gaming equipments. There are so many things within the lifestyle segment. Craft is also another important segment. Then energy. So there are a lot of segments or sectors, I would say, wherein unsustainable resources or less sustainable resources are used, which can easily be replaced by bamboo-based products, provided if we have the right kind of technology, number one, if we have the right kind of arrangement to produce the right kind of products to substitute this kind of unsustainable things. So the first one, which is the net zero or the 1.5 degree, reduction. So, and second one, the adapt to protect the communities and natural habitats. Here, there are two aspects. One is basically the climate change adaptation, and second is the mitigation. So, if you want to like create a global net zero, then we have to actually focus a lot on the climate change mitigation strategy, particularly how to substitute the unsustainable things with the sustainable resources, basically. And here, bamboo is a very good option. It can actually generate a lot of avenues and all. I'll give a quick, few examples, basically. So, say for example, if you look at the global plastic, how much of plastic we produce, we use, and how much of that is being, recycled. So in 2019 or 20, this UNEP data says that around 8.3 billion tons of plastic has been produced since early 1950s. So cumulatively, this 8.3 billion tons of plastic products we have produced and used, and about like 60% of these plastics, the waste has ended up either in the landfill areas or in natural environments, basically. And out of this, only 9% is being recycled. So you can imagine like 9% is very insignificant amount, I would say, compared to the whole plastic production. But there are a lot of plastic products, particularly the single-use plastic things, even the PVC kind of things also can be replaced with bamboo-based products. So for example, the cutlery items, kitchen items, for example, the plates, the cups, many things can easily be replaced with bamboo-based products. Similarly, if you look at the housing and construction material industry, the global market is probably more than 900 USD, 900 billion USD in 2019. And there are a lot of material, unsustainable material that we use. Say, for example, whether it's steel or whether timber products. The reason like we call timber as less sustainable because it takes almost like 30, 40 years to grow, meaning the entire plant takes that much of time to grow. Whereas bamboo, within 3 to 4 years of maturity, it grows fast. And every year one can actually harvest bamboo. So it is very fast or very renewable kind of a resource compared to timber. Similarly, when we use steel or many other, metals, basically, so the construction part actually is highly energy intensive. Whereas if we use bamboo poles directly or even the engineered bamboo, the construction actually takes lesser amount of energy to make the material. So if we compare those kind of the sustainability aspect of all these resources with bamboo, then bamboo is certainly a highly renewable and highly green kind of a material which can actually substitute these kind of things. Similarly, furniture market, if I talk about that segment, then even that market is almost like more than 600 billion USD. And the packaging industry, like packaging, meaning there are two broad, segments within the packaging industry. One is like the industrial packaging. We use a lot of like those materials to transport different types of goods from countries to countries, or from different places within the country. So a lot of packaging, industrial packaging materials are used nowadays with COVID, and in fact, like with the popularity of all these B2B, B2C portals, many people like are dependent on all these e-marketing portals basically. And a lot of unsustainable packaging materials are used by Amazon, Flipkart, and all these kind of things. So even those kind of products can also be substituted by bamboo-based products, provided if we have the right kind of industrial base in the country and a concrete kind of a supply chain arrangement. So this is one area which is climate change mitigation related things that we can easily address through bamboo and rattan. Now the second important area, which is basically the climate change, the adaptation part. Now, meaning climate change is not that easy to actually address the entire climate change, condition, and then reduce the pollution drastically over next few years or something like that. Though we have set high targets for ourselves, but still the problems would still be there in the environment. So it is important to see that how we actually make our economy resilient and also adapt to those kind of changes. And here again, bamboo can play a major role. Say, for example, the land restoration thing. So there are globally, 17% of our if I talk about only India, not globally, sorry, if I talk about India, around 17% of the land is waste land. Now, those waste lands or the land which are like, suppose, impacted by any kind of climate crisis, for example, those lands can easily be rejuvenation can happen there, and then we can easily make them more fertile, more productive if we plant bamboo over there. So it can solve a lot of problems like the floods. There are many environmental damages which are happening, can easily be addressed through this kind of plantation. But we have to have the right kind of practices in place. We need to understand that which kind of species would actually be planted in a particular area to address this kind of thing. Secondly, how to plant it, how to manage it, what would be that kind of the gaps between the plants, and also all this kind of scientific knowledge would be required. So this is the adaptation part of that, which is again relevant, keeping this bamboo and rattan sector in mind. So these are the two important aspects.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta, for how bamboo and rattan can contribute towards achievement of COP26 goals and addressing larger climate change issues. What I'm very keen to understand, in addition to what you informed, is that we are talking about potential of bamboo, in addressing climate change. But what is the level of acceptability in the market? And when we talk about processed bamboo, how capable the resource system is within the economy to address, or uh, make use of, existing bamboo resource.
Right. This is a very pertinent question, I would say, because like through INBAR also we are trying our best to create this kind of a industrial base which can actually supply these kind of sustainable products which can replace the unsustainable or less sustainable products. But so far, like if we look at the the Indian context, for example, I'm not going into any other country, but if you look at India, So we are the second largest bamboo rich country after China, and our bamboo in terms of resource base, it contributes around 40% of the global bamboo resource basically. But in terms of the value addition, in terms of the economic value, it is only 4.5%. That's the contribution to the global market, which is very insignificant, I would say, despite having 40% of the resource base. Now, the major reason why we have such a low kind of a the product base or the value base is primarily because we have a very thin layer of industry in the country. Even we consider the micro enterprises as part of a kind of industrial sector, but in the micro enterprise sector also, I mean, there are around 5 million people who are directly or indirectly dependent on bamboo based livelihood in the country, and out of that probably around 2 to 3 million people who would be having the skill to make different type of products for the local market and all. They are the micro enterprises basically, and largely own account enterprise or the household units. Now, the kind of products that we are talking about, it requires actually a scale, meaning if we talk about packaging industry, or if we talk about even the energy industry or any other sustainable areas where we can actually introduce bamboo, that requires a scale of production, and that requires technology and also the production system. And if you set up an industry, you need finance, you need many other factors which would then help you in terms of making a product. At present, we have a very thin base of that kind of enterprises in the country. And it is primarily because people do not have access to the right kind of technical know-how. Even the R&D ecosystem is also pretty weak, because we have so much emphasis has been given to only the plantation side, which is a good thing actually. At least because of that, at least we have a good resource base. But the application side, unless we create that kind of a demand for bamboo, obviously people who are directly depending on that will not be able to get a good remuneration out of their livelihood. So that part is actually missing. So industrial base is quite weak in the country. What we have to do is that we have to do a lot of R&D. We have to prioritize the products. For example, we have a huge variety here. We have around 126 different varieties of bamboo. Different varieties of bamboo would be used for different type of products. You cannot actually make all the possible products with one particular variety, or all varieties for one product. So it has to be understood, the scientific properties of that has to be understood, the local context also has to be understood, and also the market dynamics is also to be understood. So after doing that, we can prioritize that which are the best possible options for the people, and then help support them in terms of setting up their own enterprise and link them with the market. So it requires a very integrated kind of an approach, and through that only we will be able to create a good number of industry in the country who can produce this kind of sustainable products. So that part is missing. If you look at China, for example, they have a very good base of production. And for example, within China, there are different pockets. So if we'll take up one single example, say Anji country in China, so that's a I would say a cluster basically, where a large number of units are there. So they have a very organized raw material production. They also have the pre-processing industries. They have the final production making industry, and they are well connected with the market. And another important aspect is that the policy and the industry, they are actually working very closely, which is little missing in our country. Here, I mean, all these, the policy stakeholders, the industry, and even the academic institutions who are supposed to do the R&D work, these three important pillars are basically working in isolation. There is not a very strong connect between these three pillars basically, whereas in China, or look at any other advanced cluster globally, you will find that these three pillars are quite actively collaborating with each other, supplementing each other, and that's why they have a very good base of industry. and well connected with the market. Yeah. I hope I could answer your question.
Yeah, you definitely answered. Just to add on to that, you mentioned that there is lack of synergy between the policymakers, industrialists, and the academia responsible for R&D. So, what are the possible avenues which can bring forth this synergy between these three pillars?
Yeah. So actually here these three pillars, it is very difficult to expect the industry to collaborate with the research institution and policy stakeholders, particularly when the industry is largely represented by the household units or the artisans or the micro enterprises. It's difficult to expect them to go and collaborate and identify and then create this kind of a good ecosystem. So the policy has to support this entire thing. And there are organizations like us, meaning INBAR, we are actively working on that part. We are trying to create a kind of a sustainable ecosystem, a strengthened ecosystem, wherein this kind of collaboration can be possible and people can get the right kind of technical knowledge and know-how. Second important thing is that the industry representative bodies, sometimes when the micro enterprises are not being able to solve their problems, their representative bodies like industry association or BMOs, business membership organizations, those kind of bodies can be actually strengthened, who can represent, who can then easily reach out to the policy and the institutions and then place their requirements over there, negotiate with them, create kind of a right kind of policy roadmap for the benefit of their member organizations or the micro enterprises specifically. So that kind of industry associations capacity development is also very much required to force this kind of collaboration between these three important pillars.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Other thing which I would like to, you know, request you to share is we know that there are global standards for production and use of bamboo. And INBAR has done a lot of work on it. So, can you throw or shed some light on those?
Yeah. So basically, as in the previous question, like I was talking about this aspect that to address the climate issues, basically climate change mitigation things, we have to create a base of sustainable products. Now, sustainable products will not find a good market if it is not supported with standards or the parameters which can define like whether it is well meaning this is actually directly addressing the environmental and also the social aspects. Say for example, the products which we will make, say for housing and construction industries. So for different type of materials, we have well-defined standards for concrete, for steel, for any kind of material which is actually used in the housing and construction. So when we use bamboo, for example, people already have a very kind of a poor perception about bamboo, that this is a low quality product and not durable and something like that. So we have that kind of a baggage actually there in particularly in India, because they have seen that as a kind of a villager's product or a product which is used by the poor people and all. So that kind of perception is already there. They have not explored the possibilities. Now, when we wanted to introduce this kind of high-end applications, we also have to see that people understand and they have the confidence to use those kind of products in their direct consumption and also the industrial or intermediary consumption, like for example housing construction or furniture or for any other kind of products. So that's why actually INBAR is trying to develop different type of sustainability standards or introducing these products in the segments, the relevant segment, having the right kind of environmental sustainability in mind. This is one aspect. And also the social sustainability, meaning whether the people who are involved in the production process, they are getting the fair wages or not, whether even the women, the gender aspect is taken care of or not, whether there's no child labor or so we have to ensure all this kind of social um, security and social aspects also within the standard. And that is precisely why we are coming up with different types of standards. So we have created task force and we are supporting ISO, for example, or even the national level bodies to come up with the right kind of standards, particularly to promote the sustainable consumption aspect of these kind of green products made out of bamboo and rattan. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta, for sharing views. I particularly liked the point which you raised, bamboo as a poor man's material. So, how do you think that, what are the challenges which your organization or people who are working in the sector are tackling to address this? I would call it a socio-economic intellectual shackle, wherein you categorize one particular product with a particular socio-economic group. So, what are the challenges which you face in addressing, and changing people's perception about the utility of bamboo towards achieving sustainability?
Okay, so basically, if we keep this environmental, socio, and economic aspects in mind, all the segments, whether it's a meaning a rural market or it's a semi-urban market or a very kind of a urban market, so all these segments are important. The entire bamboo sector is surviving and it is being able to give employment to a huge number of like population in the country is primarily because there is a strong rural market. There are many states where people they feel that like bamboo is an integral part of their day-to-day life, meaning they use bamboo in their kitchen utility items, they use bamboo for farming, many things in the agriculture system. Then they use bamboo for their housing and construction work. So since this local kind of a market is there, so that's why they are actually getting a lot of employment and also livelihood or income out of that. So we should not ignore that local market that is there, and precisely that is the reason why these people are actually surviving. That's quite important. Many people, out of excitement, actually they say that we want to take bamboo from this basic perception of poor men's timber to rich men's like pride or something like that. And I would like to contradict there. I always say that it's a poor man's timber, and that is why this is more sustainable. Because, like for example, if you make suppose say a laundry bin or a dust bin out of bamboo, maybe people in the urban market they will buy once or twice in their suppose 10 years time or 15 years time. Whereas in a rural area, one farmer family would buy at least 10 pieces of bamboo products in a year. And thanks to that, meaning they're using those bamboo products for their life, day-to-day life activities, they're not using plastic or any other unsustainable products. That's why our environment is still better. At least we have to preserve that. This is one aspect. However, in the urban segment, there are many unsustainable things which can easily be replaced. And there we have to create the perception that even bamboo based product can also be very attractive, very durable. It can have all these properties, and it can actually the product with right kind of technology and quality system can actually replace many things, including I would say for example, very high end like wind turbine, floor tiles, those kind of high end products. So we have to, these are different segments. We have to take different strategy in different segments. But shifting, that perception from poor man's timber to rich man's pride is not the right strategy. Both are have like equal importance actually. Yeah.
Very well said, Dr. Sangeeta. And on that note, I would like to thank you for sharing your thoughts on bamboo and rattan and how this sector can contribute towards the sustainability and upcoming climate action goals which are being set. Different countries are going to meet in the first week of November to share their targets. So this interview will be, this discussion with you will be helpful for us and our viewers to get an understanding on bamboo. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.